the ICA event tonight?
Hi, my name is Tim Langley. I'm speaking tonight at the ICA event in the Foreign Correspondents Club in beautiful downtown UDOC.
Thank you very much, Jason. You might wonder why I'm talking about the New World Order, what credentials I might have. I think I was a part of the New World Order. I went to Japanese law school and I attempted to sit for the bar, the Japanese bar. They wouldn't let me in. The reason was because I looked like this. You don't look Japanese, you are not Japanese. What the hell are you doing here? Please go back home. From that stage, I could not sit for the Japanese bar, but I worked in the Japanese parliament.
Senator Taro Nakayama finds himself in an unusual situation these days. His personal secretary often gets more attention than he does. 29-year-old Timothy Langley of Atlanta, Georgia, is the first American secretary to a Japanese senator. After 3 years of studying in Japan, he wanted more time to improve his Japanese, so he answered Nakayama's help wanted ad.
I thought it would be a really great opportunity, but I just sent it kind of on a lark.
You're lucky for him and for me.
And maybe for Japan and the United States.
Yes.
This was the first time for a non-Japanese to work inside the Diet. I went to Georgetown after working in the Diet, and my senior advisor was Madeleine Albright. I do and get involved in a lot of interesting things. One of my neat projects is the Rolls-Royce and Bentley Club of Japan. I established this club about 25 years ago. It is still going strong. My car isn't. I am working with the National Medieval Fighting League of Japan. It is a team of authentic medieval fighters. This is Jay Noyes. Jay is the team captain. He is the national captain of Japan. The team is going to France to defend Japan in a national tournament in France in about 6 weeks.
Did he whip out his sword?
Can you whip out your sword?
No, if I can whip it out. Whip it out.
This is full contact. That kind of fighting started during the Crusades and ended around the time of gunpowder. So people built castles and gunpowder came in from China, and there was a change. There was a massive paradigm shift, and that shift took about 200 years to complete itself. We went through this paradigm shift with gunpowder and fighting and soldiers in a line, and that shift ended when the United States conquered the British Empire in the Revolution of the United States. And a ragtag team of soldiers led by George Washington defeated them and started the nation that is the United States today. They created what many believe to be the most astounding document ever created by man. And we're talking, up there with the Bible, we're talking about the U.S. Constitution. And one of the things I want to talk about and reflect on is the U.S. Constitution, the erosion of the U.S. Constitution, and the rights that we have been bequeathed by people who set it up and fought for us and died for us, and the kind of mess that we're in today.
It appears that there is more and more fire and smoke enveloping the very top of the building, and as fire crews are descending on this area, it does not appear that there's any kind of an effort up there yet. Now remember, oh my God.
Oh my God.
That looks like a second plane.
I did not see a plane go in. That just exploded.
We just saw another plane coming in from the side.
You did. That was out of
Yes, and that's the second explosion. You could see the plane come in just from the right-hand side of the screen. So this looks like it is some sort of a concerted effort to attack the World Trade Center that is underway in downtown New York.
If you believe that 24 guys with towels on their heads did this 12 years ago with a bunch of box cutters, I don't think you would be sitting in this audience. I don't think anybody in the United States believes that that was done the way it was portrayed to us. And we are in the midst of a paradigm shift that we cannot even comprehend right now. The question becomes, who did this and why? There's no way physically possible that these two buildings could have come down on their own. Two buildings came down into their own footprint on 9/11 by two jet aircraft that were crashed into them. There were basically 4 incidents on 9/11. It was so much for basically any of us to comprehend. 2 buildings went down into their own footprint. An airplane that crashed into a field in Shanksville. They made a movie out of that. And an airplane that crashed into the Pentagon. There's another incident that not many people know about. It's called Building 7. And if you don't know about Building 7, I have to tell you that it is very real and it's very scary. And it's a building that fell down all by itself into its own footprint 7.5 hours after this. It wasn't hit by an airplane. It was more than a football field away. There was a small fire in there. It was 47 floors high. This is Building 7, 7.5 hours after the 2 buildings collapsed. And you can see an implosion here, a little bow here, and that's a very convenient way so that a building can collapse into its own footprint, thereby keeping the roads clear, not damaging other superstructures. To place charges here takes a minimum of 3 days. That's working very fast. If you think that this one fell down all by itself, 1,700 qualified engineers and architects who will argue against you. And if you just search on the internet, the name of this team is the Engineers and Architects for 9/11 Truth. My son, when he finished high school, he went to college and got a job in New York City. He was so proud, he called me up. He said, I'm working in this cool building called Building 7. They built Building 7 in no time out. A brand new building, still called Building 7. And I said, you're jerking your old man, aren't you? He says, no, why? He didn't know. He doesn't know about Building 7. And Building 7 is an obvious fact. Do you remember Yellowcake? Does anybody remember the high credibility and the honor that we felt for General Colin Powell? But his credibility was so destroyed by going to the UN, using his credibility to explain to the world about Yellowcake and about weapons of mass destruction. And we found out 7 months later that it was false. And Colin Powell has disappeared from view. We were hoodwinked for a war with Iraq that received somewhat of a congressional authorization. This is not a fight that the United States is conducting. The United States just is the strong arm. And in fact, Barack Obama, our president, told Congress, I don't need your authorization to have these overflights. I don't need your authorization to send in soldiers. I don't need your authorization because I was asked by the UN to do this, and I sit on the board of the UN. This is the first time in history for this to happen. In fact, as a president, he's forbidden from doing that. But there's something more going on. It might surprise you. The guy who was the original Crocodile Dundee was murdered 7 months ago. They did a gun grab in Australia, and they were collecting the guns because they're trying to suppress the gun ownership. Because if you have guns, not for your protection, but for your defense, right? Big guns, not guns for shooting squirrels. We're talking guns that you can actually scare somebody away with. Those are being collected globally. And the Australia has a law that is very similar to the United States, the right to bear and carry arms. It's a younger country than the United States, but they borrowed a lot from the United States. They've been changing the law now. The United States is following this very carefully and following the same pattern. Guns are being eroded from the American population at an alarming rate. Our Constitution is being eroded every day. I had a conversation with a friend who wanted me to write an article for him in Florida. He said, well, what would you write about? And I said, well, I'll write about, the 1.6 billion bullets that the United States government has on order. And he said, well, what are you talking about? I said, the bullets that are being ordered and distributed throughout the United States. He says, well, don't talk about that. And I said, what? He said, just don't talk about it. And I said, what are you talking about? Bullets? The hollow point bullets? And the phone went dead. The United States government has ordered from bullet manufacturers in the United States bullets in such a magnitude that it's hitting the press. People are picking it up. But they order it in small lots, lots of 1 million, 2 million, 3 million. And they are distributing it throughout the United States government, to the U.S. Postal Service, to immigration, to immunization, to places that don't deserve or want bullets. What are you doing with bullets? Okay? The number right now stands today at more than 2 billion bullets. That's more than 5 bullets for every man, woman, and child in the United States. And these bullets are being distributed throughout the United States. my conclusion is that the United States is protecting for civil unrest. There are mechanical ways, I mean, not somebody is listening to you, but they have key words, you know, like I'm going to kill somebody, and, you know, they pick it up, and you know, maybe it's filtered out, and then maybe a human is listening to it. But the point here is that our freedom of expression, our right to free speech, is being eroded. The Federal Reserve is a private organization set up 100 years ago because the United States needed to get away from the gold standard. Now, this is very important in understanding where we are right now. The United States was under a gold standard. It is not anymore. We are under a controlled monetary system, and that means that the value that we have in the paper is based on our credibility in the system. Alan Greenspan said, we do not need to listen to the President of the United States, and we do not need to listen to the Congress. He said that. The most damaging way that money is created is through fractional reserves. And if you own a bank, you are allowed by law to have $100 of money on deposit, real money, and you can therefore create 10 times that amount of money in other things other than paper money. You're allowed to do that, okay? That law was in effect for about 15 years and has recently been dropped. And has been dropped from the 10 times the fractional reserve that you have in income to an unlimited number. So now you think about people who have money, I mean the real people who have money, and who have the ability to make money from money, they have even more money. They have an enormous amount of wealth. And it all starts here. The intelligence and the technology that has been brought to bear, I think just, it dwarfs anything that we can comprehend. When I was in Okinawa, we would go out on the hillside and watch SR-70s fly in. These are the spy planes, the blackbirds that would fly in. And these planes were so advanced. This airplane is even today the fastest airplane in the arsenal. And this was created 40 years ago. Now, how the hell did something like that happen? The fact of the matter is that technology that you and I use is about 20 years later than the technology that real people are using. This stuff is so far beyond us. If even part of that is true, how in the world can somebody allow derivatives to collapse our economy and to make us pay money, and for General Motors to be shipped to China, and for our entire infrastructure, the blood and bones of the United States, to be collapsed slowly, methodically? The CIA is just a tiny part of the entire intelligence structure in the United States. I mean, it's like a library within a library. And the NSA far, far dwarfs the size of the CIA, and the CIA is pretty significant. But the NSA, the budget is unknown, it is unlimited, and it is listening, it sounds so paranoid to say, it is listening to everything that we're saying. The embedding of trackers and devices to watch and to observe and to control are just, they're all over society. And you might not see it, you might not notice it, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. This is really important. I wouldn't do this unless I really felt strongly about it, unless I loved you. And if you don't believe it, that's fine, but please check it out for yourself.